Happy Monday, thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, here to play a little game with you. A little game of ask me any question you want about the upcoming winter storm other than how much snow at my house. Comment it below or tweet it at me, Facebook it, however you want to get to us here on 9 News Plus. We will try and take as many of your questions as possible, again, with the exception being how much snow at my house. So before we get into some of those questions, let's start things off by taking a look at what we've got overall, where things stand with our incoming winter storm. First of all, Winter Storm Watch issued by the National Weather Service. Watch means that conditions are favorable for winter storm conditions for much of southern Colorado. This does not include Denver or most of the metro area, though the southern fringes of the metro are covered by this Palmer Divide, so kind of Castle Rock, Parker, South Parker on south. That's where you're looking at the Winter Storm Watch. But then you get into the Denver area, and right now, no winter weather alerts for us here in the Denver area, though I expect that to change. I think we'll see a winter weather advisory issued in the next few hours in the metro area. So overall, what we're looking at for the Denver area, most likely we're going to end up with 3 to 6 inches worth of snowfall here in the immediate metro area. I'm probably leaning towards the bottom end of that range for most of us here in town. Downtown on north and east, probably closer to about 3 inches. You head south of town, that's where we're going to see some 4, 5s, and 6s in terms of those snowfall totals. West side of town, the foothills and the Palmer Divide will be the two most favored areas in terms of highest snowfall totals. But then you get north. I do think we're going to see the chance, especially as you get up by Fort Collins, Greeley, even most of Weldon, Larimer County. I think we're going to probably only end up with maybe 1 or 2 inches in those areas. Keansburg, Fort Lupton, Brighton. Again, you get into kind of northern Adams, southern Weld counties. That's where you're looking at probably 1 or 2 inches in a lot of those areas. Could even include the airport as well. Maybe 1 or 2 inches officially at the airport, but most of the town probably close to about 3, maybe 4, 5 inches worth of snowfall. Most of that coming tomorrow night and into your Wednesday morning. So with that in mind, before we get into those snowfall totals in more detail and the timing of this, I kind of want to show you what we expect the most impacts to be from this upcoming winter storm. I think Wednesday morning's commute looks to be the worst of this. And if we end up with only 2, 3, 4 inches worth of snowfall, those impacts will probably lead to a lot of school delays, some slow roads out there, but nothing too dramatic out on the roads for us on your Wednesday morning. The majority of the snow will fall overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That Wednesday evening commute, it will still be snowing pretty lightly out there, but that Wednesday evening commute does look to be notably better. I think there'll be enough time to clear the roads. The accumulating snow will be mostly done by about midday, 1 o'clock or so on your Wednesday. But throughout the day on your Wednesday, because of a combination of snow and wind, I do think we're going to have some pretty big issues in or out of the airport on Wednesday, regardless of snowfall totals. Again, that's due to limited visibility, due to some pretty strong winds, and also some of that accumulating snow that'll be falling out at the airport. And the heaviest snow and the highest snowfall totals will be south and west of the city of Denver. So our next storm, I should say that there's kind of 2 systems phasing together to create this next storm. So what I mean by that, 2 storms are basically merging. And that's why we've been keeping such a close eye on this particular snowstorm. When you get these 2 systems coming together, it can kind of create a big bad storm. And that's what this system is going to be. But at this point, it looks like these 2 storms will come together just a bit too early for those highest impacts and those strongest impacts for us here in the Denver area. And it's also going to be a bit too far south for some of those highest impacts as well. So the system, as it moves off to the south and off to the east, it does look like we're going to see some pretty heavy snowfall for sure into the San Juans, into the San Cristos, the Wet Mountains, and even on up to the I-70 corridor. We'll see some of that snowfall move its way through. Snow will probably start between about 6 and 10 p.m. tomorrow night. Maybe some of the computer model runs lately maybe ticking a bit later with that. So maybe nudge that to maybe say 7 to 11 p.m. But somewhere tomorrow night is when that snow will begin. And then it's going to snow pretty heavily overnight. We're going to get a good kind of burst of snow Wednesday night and into your into your Wednesday morning. And by about midday or so Wednesday, the majority of the accumulating snow should be done. And then by tomorrow night, the snow over and done with. And by Thursday, we're going to see the sun come back out, pretty chilly temperatures. By the way, it's going to be pretty cold throughout the storm system as well. Could see some single-digit lows for us across the metro area as well. So snowfall totals, again, I kind of mentioned confidence-based forecast for the Denver area. This is the newest run of the European model, which did tick down with its expected snowfall totals with its latest run. Again, here in town, I think we're going to end up seeing probably a lot of 3s and 4s, a few 1s and 2s as you get north and east of town, and then you get onto the Palmer Divide and onto the foothills just the west of Denver, maybe a few more 5s, 6s, 7s, maybe even an occasional 8 or 9 in some of those most favored areas, say by kind of Roxborough Park and Castle Rock, Castle Pines, somewhere in there. Somebody might come in with a 7 or an 8 or even a 9 once all is said and done. And speaking of which, in fact, let's go back to this here for a quick second. Notice here how the San Juans and the Wet Mountains and the Sangre de Cristos, this is really good news. You know, I know there's a lot of Denver area snow lovers. I know we've been talking about this storm for a few days now. And I mentioned just the overall dynamics of the storm looked to me like this could be a big one. There was certainly a time last week I was wondering, are we talking about a foot plus worth of snowfall here in Denver? There was probably a day or two where I was openly wondering that, just because of the general dynamics of the storm system. The good news for the Denver area, for I suppose for people who don't want to have their days completely disrupted on Wednesday, that's almost for sure not going to happen. But this is shifting now to the part of the state that really needs the snow the most. We've been talking about how we've had a really good snow season across most of Colorado. That's really been from I-70 on north. South of I-70, we're struggling a little bit, especially into the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the Arkansas River Valley, that'd be the Wet Mountains, and we're seeing a fair bit in the way of snow from this upcoming system in that part of the state. So that is good news. Again, the part of the state that needs the snow the most is going to get it. So don't overlook that here, folks. The part of the state that needs the snow the most is going to get it. We also need the moisture in the southeast plains. We're going to get that as well. So again, maybe to put a little flower on this for Denver area snow lovers that want the snow, I know we're probably not going to get a ton from this storm system, or maybe not as much as it may have looked like last week. Or specifically last Friday, Saturday, when it was really looking like a robust storm for us here in the Denver area. I will say that right now, this does look to be a southern Colorado storm, which is good news from a broad perspective, from a meteorologist's perspective, because again, that's the part of the state that needs the snow the most. So snowfall forecast, closer look in here at the metro area. Again, I think we end up seeing a lot more 3s and 4s than anything else, and a few 4, 5, 6s, maybe a few 7s and 8s on the Palmer Divide once all is said and done. These are going to be the most upslope favored areas from this upcoming storm. Then you get up north, and we do see a few 1s and 2s. So 7-day forecast may start as a few raindrops. This will flip to snow pretty quickly here on your Tuesday night. Wednesday it snows all day, but the accumulating snow is mainly going to be in the morning by about midday or so. It's just going to be what I call meteorological dandruff, where it's just, you see those flakes and that it's not really sticking, but it's still snowing. It's going to be that kind of snow. It's just going to be very, very light stuff throughout the day on Wednesday. Cloud cover sticks around. May even see a peak or two of sunshine back half of the day on your Wednesday. And then by Thursday, we'll wake up to sunshine. It's just pretty cold, and then we warm things up pretty quickly as we head over the next few days. So with that said, hopefully it's giving you a good idea about what to expect. Denver area, a good 3 to 6 inches for most of us. And I'm taking a look here just to make sure we're starting to get some of these questions rolling in. I had a few earlier on. We'll get to some of those questions. I'm getting a lot of questions about possible snow days or school days. Before I get into that, just a reminder, I am a meteorologist. I am not a school superintendent, so I do not have any say on that. Occasionally, people will ask us for advice on that. I would say that what would probably seem most likely to me is that we're going to be talking about school delays for most of the Denver area on Wednesday. Probably school delays. I think tomorrow we're fine. We're a normal school day. We shouldn't have any early releases, anything like that. It's Wednesday morning where I think we probably do see a few. I would say most schools will probably end up being delayed. And to me, if I was offering advice, I think a delay should cover it because, again, the heaviest of the snow will be overnight and through Wednesday morning. By about mid to late morning on Wednesday, may get an additional inch of snow throughout the day on Wednesday. That should be pretty much it. The roads should be able to recover pretty quickly. Road crews get out there, and by Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, the roads should be mostly okay, I would anticipate, for the metro area. So with that said, we're probably talking more delays and not school closures. That said, Southeast Colorado, different story. You're watching me from Pueblo, you're watching me from certainly Walsenburg, Levada Pass, the San Luis Valley. That's where you're talking about school closures, probably more widespread. South of I-70, Southeast Plains, La Junta, Springfield, Lamar, those areas, again, that's where I think you're probably looking at school closures. Also, it's going to be really windy, extra windy in that part of the state, so that's going to make visibility extra tough and make travel really, really tough here on your Wednesday. So, again, Denver area, probably more delays than closures. So we could see a couple closures on the Palmer Divide and the Southwest foothills, but probably, again, more delays for most of the metro area, maybe even north of town, maybe not anything, just because, again, we're not going to see a ton in the way of issues. But Dominic asked me that, and I got a specific question about Boulder Valley schools, and to me, again, probably delays up into the Boulder Valley. But just as a reminder, I'm not a school superintendent. I got another question here from Brooke asking me. Oh, there's Greg. It scared me.
I'm here to crash your thing.
Greg's coming in. So we were just getting a couple questions in.
Okay.
One, you're single, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not the question.
Is that the question?
So no Valentine's Day concerns for you tomorrow.
No.
By the way, meteorologist Greg Perez hopping on in. He's going to hop in and join a question. So the question I was going to ask Greg is, in terms of the potential for Valentine's Day issues, I'll boost myself down if you want.
Okay. Yeah, Valentine's Day issues, let's talk.
So because tomorrow, and let's in fact pull this up here as we get Greg settled on in here. We're going to pull up the feature cast here for a quick second so we can get people an idea about what to expect for Valentine's Day. But tomorrow night, the snow looks like it pulls on in somewhere around
9 and 10?
Yeah, this is the European model, which did tick a little back here. But for those of you with Valentine's Day plans, Greg, what would you advise for those plans for tomorrow night?
I mean, even tomorrow evening between 9 and 10 o'clock, that's probably just going to be the beginning of the snow. So I feel like the roads are going to be okay. You know, nothing too late. 10:30, 11 at the latest, I'd say. Get going. What do you think? I mean, I'm thinking that the heaviest and the brunt of that system is going to be happening overnight. But remember, we were also talking about the upward vertical velocities a little earlier. So if we get that quick band or a quick band of vertical velocity, that could be 1 to 2 inches like that. I mean, no problem. But I'd say if you're home by 10 o'clock, that's probably the best thing, right?
I agree.
10 o'clock is kind of the cutoff for me.
You want to get home by 10. I think it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to pull up a different map here. So give us a second as we pull this up because we're getting a different map, a different view for you to see this here, a closer look in at the metro area.
I was looking at the HER, which is just a different model.
A short range model, yep.
Short range model, and it was showing some more snow a little closer, 7 and 8 o'clock. So that was coming in a little bit earlier.
So for those of you with Valentine's Day plans, we got a question from Brooke asking specifically about Valentine's Day, what to plan for. Is this maybe an evening to have it inside, to have it at home?
Definitely inside.
Yeah. Or not inside. Yeah. You definitely don't want to.
Inside.
Probably not a patio.
Do you mean
Valentine's Day?
You mean as far as traveling goes?
Yeah. Or to order in is what I meant.
I mean, I think like what we just talked about earlier. I think if you want to go out, I think that the roads are going to be just fine, especially because temperatures over the past couple of days have been very warm. Say in the 50s. I mean, the ground is not necessarily, it's not an icy tundra per se. So it is going to melt a little bit. I feel like of that snowfall. But at the same time, if we get one of those quick bands of 1 to 2 inches, things could get visibility-wise, conditions-wise, things could disintegrate very, very quickly. I don't think you need to plan for staying inside, but I do think just keep an eye on the forecast because things could change just like that. We've seen it before.
Yeah, and to your point, I would be probably a bit more concerned. I'll pull us back in here now that I think we got Greg all settled and everything. Yeah. By the way, welcome to 9 News Plus. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you. Yeah, I decided to crash you a little bit.
Oh no, of course. I told you earlier. I was like, Greg, you should come by and answer some of these questions because again, we're answering every question that you got. Feel free to tweet us, whatever it is. Everything other than how much snow in my house, because we're not going to get to that. We're just not going to answer that question because nobody else cares. But the point being here is that I think the Valentine's Day plan's probably all right for the most part. Yeah. Certainly as you get there, I think you're all right getting there. You got 7:30 dinner.
Perfect.
Whatever you're doing.
9:30, even 10 o'clock, you should be okay.
Should be okay.
You should be all right.
That's I get a little nervous. 9, 10 o'clock though. the issue is because we get a cold front that moves its way on through. So that means, bam, you get a little band of snow that works its way through quickly, and that's when we could see the majority of our accumulations.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's that. I mean, we've been burned by this before. We've been burned by those little bands. I mean, I think it was the forecast in December where we really got hit hard, right? Hard. I mean, close to 8 to 10 inches of snowfall. Whereas if that band was 30 miles west, that'd be in the foothills pushing into the high country. So the margin of error is very, very slim. But I think, once again, to your point, if you're home by 10 o'clock, you should be okay.
Yeah.
You should be okay. That's kind of what I've been saying over the past couple of days. And we still have the potential, though, for a 10% chance, 15% chance of that heavy snowfall, too. But do you think that's going to be coming more in the early hours of Wednesday, or do you think that shot of snow, because of the vertical velocities and because of the lift, that's going to happen more on Tuesday night?
And by the way, when we're talking about vertical velocity, in order to get precipitation, here, a little weather 101. Rising air equals precipitation equals clouds, rain. So in order to get, like when you get a thunderstorm, you got rapidly rising air, and that's why you tend to get more moisture and more storms. For example, in the summer as opposed to the winter, you got more rising air. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Warm air rises, we all know that, I think. So when you get very high vertical velocity, you get kind of a burst of just rapidly rising air. It can lead, that's what we're, I think, a bit concerned about for tomorrow night, is that sometime tomorrow night, early Wednesday morning, we'll probably get the majority of our accumulations from the system overall from that initial burst of snow for us Wednesday night, tomorrow, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Sometime before dawn on Wednesday. What you wake up to on Wednesday is probably going to be the majority of what you get, maybe another inch or two.
Yeah, maybe another inch. But the heaviest of snowfall down to the southwest, heaviest down towards the southeast as well. The plains 4 to 10 inches.
Yeah, let's pull this up here too.
Inches.
And this is the new European model that just came in, by the way.
Winter storm watch on the lower end of things, especially for the plains.
Yeah.
I'm thinking probably closer to 4 to 6, right, as opposed to 4 to 10. I know NWS was going 4 to 10, but I'm thinking closer to. I mean, you see all these numbers down here, right? You see 6 inches is the highest. It looks like for Burlington and Trinidad, Pueblo and Lamar, 3 to 5, and then of course in those upper elevations, eastern San Juan's going to get smoked.
Yeah, and that's the part of the state that really needs the snow.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was saying this earlier on, is like, if you're a Denver area snow lover and you're bummed by the fact that this is probably only going to be a couple inches for us here in the metro area, and I know there's a lot of you out there watching, especially people watching us are probably more snow lovers than anything else.
Yeah, we also like snow.
We like snow too. Yeah.
Full disclosure here.
We're all pro snow, but the part of the state that needs the snow is going to get it. So take solace in that. Like this is, if you had to draw this up, this is what you would want.
Too.
Yeah,
good amount of snow too, not just a little. I mean, 8 to 18 inches. That is a solid amount. I mean, I've seen models go upwards of 2 feet. So,
and worth noting, by the way, you might notice Alamosa. If you're watching here on the screen, Alamosa, southern part of the state. If you're new to Colorado, this is the driest part of Colorado. This is the San Luis Valley. It's a high desert. Alamosa averages 7 to 8 inches of rain a year.
Okay.
So when you get an inch of liquid out there, that is a very uncommon storm. Alamosa gets 20, 25 inches of snow a year. This is an unusual snowstorm for the San Luis Valley. So again, the part of the state that normally does not get these kinds of snow events is going to be, or this degree of a snow event, the wet mountains.
They get snow, it's just not as much as the rest of Colorado.
Correct. Yeah. And by the way, avoid Levada Pass. If you're Walsenburg, that's what connects the San Luis Valley. You're going to the Sand Dunes, that area, Levada Pass. Avoid that area here as we get into the next little while. But a closer look in here at the metro area here, Greg, and I think we're seeing more 3s and 4s than anything else.
Yeah, the lower end. The lower end. That's kind of what we were talking about this morning. But once again, I mean, if that small little band hits over Denver, we could be getting 6 to 8. I mean, there is a chance. There's a shot of it. But earlier today we were talking, this is the most likely scenario. Most likely scenario. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Once this loads, we'll...
yeah, this computer's being a little slow, but...
It's just a little slow. There we go. This is the... this is the most likely scenario. 60% chance, 3 to 6, and within that 60% range, I'm thinking closer to 3 to 4 inches.
Yeah.
Right, 3 to 4 inches. That's really the sweet spot. I think a lot of people on Wednesday, are going to be waking up to 3.5, 4 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
or 2.5, say, and then adding another inch
maybe.
and a half. Right.
And yeah, so you may wake up on Wednesday morning, be disappointed. We've been talking about the snow for a few days now. I was mentioning, Greg, before you came here, how this system had that look to it where it was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, the consistency. Earlier last week, we were talking about this too, about how unusually consistent these models were, especially Thursday, Friday, even into Saturday, just weirdly consistent.
They're all excited about this, and
Yeah,
you don't see that too often. Normally, the computer models will flip-flop, to your point. They'll flip around. Also, meteorologically, these are two systems coming together, which so it's extra energy, two jet streams
We have one
coming
coming from the south too.
One from the south, one from the north. Yep. So you just had everything in place. This is, this is how we get big snowstorms here in the Denver area. But it looks like it's just going to miss us to the south, isn't it?
Yeah, that low pressure system, right? I mean, that's that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past 6 or 7 months. That low pressure system needs to be spot on, right in that southeastern corner of Colorado, almost over the panhandle of Oklahoma, for us to really get a good amount of snow. You know, we're talking
March 2021.
March of 2021 type snow, 10 plus inches, right? How much snow did we get in March 2021?
27 officially.
27 officially.
But this had that look, to your point. It had that look to it. This is, I mean,
it was
that storm was slower. This was never probably going to be that much.
It was too quick. This storm is too quick, especially with the front moving through. Because by Wednesday afternoon, a lot of the snow is going to be gone. Maybe some residual stuff along the eastern plains.
Yeah, eastern plains further east to go.
We'll continue to get some snow through the evening, but besides that,
and by the way, I'm still getting more questions about this school days here, about what people expect snow day, school day, sorts of potential impacts to that. I was saying that I think we're both not school superintendents before that.
we don't have any contact or affiliation with the school.
They don't ask us. I mean, feel free to ask us. But
tweet
to
us.
me, tweet us, whatever. This smells more like a school delay, not closing, right? More delays.
Yeah, more of delays. I don't think there's enough time for that snow accumulation to really happen. I don't think it's going to be strong enough. And as I said earlier, the ground has been very warm. We've had consistently warm days. And I know low temperatures in the evening, they drop back down below freezing, but then tomorrow we're right back in the middle to upper 40s. So there is going to be plenty of warm air, and that ground is going to be absorbing the warm air. So I think the first little bit of snowfall is going to melt upon impact before things really start cooling down. It does smell more like a delay than anything else. I mean, unless we get that 10% shot of 6 to 10 inches.
Yeah,
unless we get, which is a
Divide,
possibility.
foothills, maybe. I think we do see a few closures.
I think foothills, absolutely. Front range, possibly too. Divide, yes. Maybe a few closures out there. Denver Public Schools, Jeffco,
probably stay.
Probably not as much, right?
Hour or two delay. And that would be based on what we're seeing right now, because people are probably going to wake up to an inch or two of snow. It's not going to be snowing that heavily during the morning commute.
It's going to be overnight.
You'd like to think that the road crews would have most of that off the roads by then. It won't be snowing inch per hour stuff. A delay should probably cover it.
The only concern, of course, is busing, right? That's the real concern. So yeah, I think a delay should absolutely cover it by 10 a.m. I think a lot of the roads are going to be just fine, but it is going to be really cold too.
And it is going to be cold.
It's going to be chilly. High of 24, I think.
Yeah, high of 24 on one. Pull up the 7-day forecast here for you before we get on out of here. But here's the 7-day forecast with those temperatures that'll only top out in the mid-20s. Those lows, we're going to be talking about some single-digit lows by Wednesday night once this clears on out of here. Wednesday night, Thursday morning looks to be very, very cold. So
still chilly on Thursday too.
Still chilly. We may get to freezing on Thursday.
Maybe.
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, beautiful.
Back to normal, right?
But then next week, by the way, if you're a snow lover, another round, and this looks to be a very busy pattern overall. So if you are a snow lover, take solace in two things. One, again, the part of the state that needs the snow the most is going to get it.
Absolutely.
Number two, this is a busy pattern we're entering, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's through the end of February. We're looking at the long-range models, and especially with the jet stream, you just see waves after waves after waves, and we could be set up for another nice system, maybe next week, but yeah, as you said before, snow lovers, get ready. I think we're in for a fun couple of weeks.
Absolutely. So
I'm excited for it, because this is my first winter in Denver, so I'm excited. I've been telling Chris all winter, I want just a really big snowstorm, so that's what I'm praying for.
You heard it here first, so if you want to know who to blame if we get that. If you don't want 20 inches of snow when we get it,
I'll take the heat this time. I'll take the heat.
I mean, overall, I will say it does look like, again, a good pattern. And you know what?
But great for the environment, too.
Great.
Great for the environment. I know the past couple of, not necessarily 2021, but remind me, 2022, was it relatively dry as far as snow goes?
The first half of the start of the winter season was, we had our latest first measurable snowfall on record last winter.
Okay.
We had to wait all the way until December the 10th. That led up to the horrible conditions that led up to the Marshall Fire.
Right.
And it was just an exceptionally dry and warm fall and early winter. Then January, February, March, it consistently snowed. A lot of little kind of snow events, a lot of 2 to 3, 4 or 5 inch snow events.
Crazy.
We had one decent snowstorm, like 8, 9 inches in early February of last year. February, by the way, 8 of our last Februarys, we've had at least 11 inches worth of snowfall. It's kind of turned into our new March here in Denver along the Front Range. February has been a pretty busy month snow-wise. Normally it's not. Normally it's an okay month for snow, but it's March, April where we get our big storms. Last few years it's been February where we've been kind of getting nailed. But to answer your question, you're right. The last 2 winters have been we had a good one, 2018, 2019. Last 2 after that were
so
not
besides
so great.
2021, where you got that monster 27-inch, it wasn't very active.
That was a pretty okay season. It was because of the one snowstorm we got our snow, and then it kept snowing until April and May, and then it stopped. But,
right.
But point being, last winter was good after the historically late start for our first snow.
Well, hey, I think we're in for another couple of nice storms, especially as we close out February for the next couple of weeks, and then, who knows what March is going to bring at this point, right? It's been such an active season so far, so I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too. And but again, this is not a nothing storm. We're not.
No, this is not a nothing burger at all. No, this is a good
few inches of snow.
We're 3 to 5, 3 to 6 inches, and definitely could cause problems on the roadways for sure on Wednesday morning. So keep that in mind. 4-wheel drive. You guys know the drill at this point.
Yep.
Give yourself a little bit of extra time on your way out the door. Same thing with the kids, family, whatever. But yeah, no, this is not a nothing burger. This is something that you definitely have to pay attention to, but it's not going to be one of those storms where you just get blown out of the water with, like March of 2021 with 27 inches. Not going to be that.
Though this did have that look to it. Again,
it did.
last Friday was like, oh,
here we go.
Ooh, this
is fun.
This is like, but no, it's not going to be that, which I think, but anyways, Greg, thanks for joining us here for a few minutes.
Anytime.
And thank you for joining us here on 9 News Plus. We'll have continued updates on the winter storm. We still got more than a day to go until we see any flakes whatsoever here in the Denver area. Things could change. So stay with us here. We'll keep posted with the very latest. But for now, thanks again for joining us.